Hi, everyone, and welcome to episode 134 of Let's Play. And we are with Krystine and Erin.
Hi, guys.
Hello.
We are moving away from the Sam and Charles relationship right now, and we're heading to new territory. So we are... Okay, so we actually begin with a small recap that gives us a clue about what the episode is going to be about. And that's when Link discovers the toilet paper rolls in his garbage. And we discussed that last time, so that's just an introduction. But we have our first part is going to go ease right into Marshall and Vikki. And I would like to take over.
So we've got this wonderful shot of Vikki being like total Zen master at peace. The peace signs, the rainbow spectrum. Just relax and release your breath slowly. Allow your energy to center itself back within you. Now, how do you feel? And she looks up Marshall, and he is out cold. He's snoring away.
How cold?
I
have
totally
to say, like, maybe this is not the first thing I should have noticed, but like I noticed those well-defined shoulders. He's wearing a tank top. Like the man works out, which is something that I did not appreciate, like the amount of effort it takes to get those muscles until I started working out and looking around me, and I was like, okay, it takes a lot of effort. So I appreciate it from like a personality perspective that someone's dedicated enough to do that.
Right. I totally related to falling asleep while meditating. I've never been a good meditator. I always seem to fall asleep. Like when I would do meditations, like I did meditations for a couple of years, and that was what I used to fall asleep, was guided meditation. So to wake him up, she says, I have a rare pocket monster card and no one to give it to. And he jumps up. I'll take it. There you are. And then he apologizes.
So clever of her, by the way. She like, I don't even know how much they've interacted, but she was able to guess what would wake him up. That was pretty amazing. I mean, she has great insight into people.
I love Vikki so much. I can't wait I hope we see a lot more of her for this season. I think she's going to be a huge help in guiding Marshall down the path of what he's going to need to do to kind of go through this healing process that he's going to need to.
And apparently
she's
like
got
people
some great
like
lines.
Yeah. And apparently like people like ship them two together too, which I had no idea. And I was like, oh, okay.
Oh,
You guys want to save that for like the bonus question at the end, like discussing whether they'll end up together or whether they should, or what you think about it?
Yeah.
All right, we'll do that.
So then Marshall's, oh man, sorry, Vikki. Hope you're helping me, and I fell asleep. She says, it's all right. I'm glad you were relaxed in my presence, but I am sorry that you're tired enough to fall asleep. Because when you won't fall asleep if you're not relaxed in that way, or especially if you're with other people. So like she's clearly got a very calming presence for him. But yeah, not ideal if you're trying to work through stuff. He says, ever since I collapsed, I haven't been sleeping very well, and I've had nightmares every night. It makes it difficult for me to get any rest, and it only seems to be getting worse, especially since he seems very ashamed of, ever since I started sleeping alone.
And even before he says all that, you notice how he right away like apologizes to Vikki?
Understandable.
Oh, I see. We're definitely, there's like the lag. But even before he goes into that, he apologizes to Vikki, which, it could on one hand be like a case of normal, apology, but especially for someone like Marshall's always apologizing. Marshall's always feeling bad and taking everything to heart. And it's just like, I guess it could be a normal behavior to apologize, but when you see him doing it, it's just his pattern.
It's when you're trying to tell people that you don't need to apologize for being you, and you don't need to apologize for what you're feeling. It's okay to feel whatever you're feeling. Just be with that feeling. And I think that's what Vikki's trying to help him get to, is being okay with feeling what he's feeling, and his feelings are just as valid as everybody else's feelings. He doesn't need to apologize for what he's got going on.
Mm-hmm.
I like that Vicky's like empathetic, that like, oh, like, I'm sorry, like, you're tired enough to fall asleep in my presence. Like, she's very empathetic.
Right. She doesn't say, oh, it's okay, like, oh, it's fine, it's not a big deal. She gives him like kind of like an out where she validates why he's falling asleep. And she's kind of giving him like, no, it's okay. There's a reason that you're falling asleep. It's not something you should feel bad for. Like, there's a good reason behind it. And like, it's kind of opening him up to talk to her about it, which is exactly what he does. She's very skilled in her conversation, you know, in allowing him to feel comfortable and open up.
She gives him that breathing room to be comfortable enough to start opening up.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so he says, ever since I collapsed, I haven't been sleeping very well. I've had nightmares every night. Makes it difficult for me to get any rest, and it only seems to be getting worse, especially since, well, I started sleeping alone. And yeah, he like I said, he seems very almost ashamed that Monica was there all the time, and now that they've decided to take a break, now, you know, it's a mark of shame for him, but it's like, it doesn't have to be. You can just be okay with just being by yourself, and that's okay.
Maybe he feels, I mean, this is the impression I got also, that it's kind of like he feels like embarrassed that she dumped him, like that people might think that like, oh, I wasn't good enough for her and there's something wrong with me and that's why she left me, rather than it being like, oh, I still love you, but we have to grow apart. But, you know, like, it never feels good if other people think that you were rejected.
I also got like the feeling that like he's kind of ashamed too, because it didn't work. Like, he failed to make it work.
Yeah, but I think, yeah, it's also, I mean, that the fact that, you know, she very much said it's we need to work on ourselves apart before we can be together. And it's not a goodbye forever. It's we need to take time to work on ourselves for now.
You can also see how stressed he is when he talks about the nightmares and he clenches his fist.
He glances.
Yeah, and he looks at that device
down
over
at that wrist device. Yeah,
I'm sure he hates, and every time he looks at it, he's probably like embarrassed about himself.
I'm sure with it going off constantly, it's frustrating for him.
Mm-hmm. That too.
So then
It's like
Vicki, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, it's like a physical manifestation of the emotional state that he is in, or the problems that he carries around. Normally, like, your problems are internal and they're only in your head and your heart, but this is like a physical manifestation of that. So it's visible to everybody else and to him.
Exactly, yeah. And Vicki says, well, we've been hearing a lot of this year, that it's understandable, Marshall. You went through a very traumatic event, not just physically, but mentally too. And haven't we all heard that in the last several months after the year we all had in 2020? And not only does your body need time to heal, but your mind needs a chance to process the experience too.
That's such a profound line right there.
Validating. Like, she's just so calm, and she just takes whatever he says and gives him acceptance and love, and like, it's all the cliche like peace and love words, but they're applicable.
And like I said, I think we've all heard that, and we've all had that collective trauma after the year of 2020, and still being in the pandemic on a global scale here. And I think having her echo that, and we all kind of relate to that a little bit, in that, you know, okay, it's okay that things might not be still back to normal. I might still be feeling a little scared, nervous, whatever, because we're all still in that place. So, like, you know, we're all a little bit of Marshall in this place right now. So then she says, think of it this way. You didn't take the time to ensure your wellness, and now you are being forced to take time for your illness.
Yeah,
I
Marshall
loved
definitely looks
that.
like,
Mhm.
yeah, it's super smart, eh? And like it reminds me, I always tell my son, a lazy man works twice as hard because he always tries to take shortcuts, but there's no such thing as shortcuts. It just leads to long cuts. So, and yeah, this is totally applicable in the realm of emotional health as well and physical health.
Mhm.
And especially for somebody that clearly takes care of himself like Marshall does, the fact that, yeah, he's working out, but he wasn't taking care of all of the aspects of his well-being. Yes, you can work out and look great, but if you're not taking care of that mental load that you're carrying, it can put you in just as much of an exhaustive state.
Yeah, but he looks like he's finally accepting her words. I know like Monica was telling him before, you have to take care of yourself, you have to take care of yourself, but he wasn't ready to hear it yet. Like we saw that before. But now he does look like he's actually listening to her. Obviously, he's had that experience, and that's kind of like forcing him to face reality. But I also wonder if Vicki's approach is also more palatable to him rather than kind of being told what to do.
So then he says, then what do the nightmares mean? I have them every night, which that's heartbreaking. If he, like, we saw that one nightmare, and if he's having those or variations of that every night, that's so much. And that is a lot of unresolved trauma that he's got to deal with.
I have a friend who also she just mentioned this morning, which is funny because I was thinking about it. She was like, yeah, she has nightmares often. And I'm like, all my dreams are like me doing things with handsome men. What can I tell you? Like, I have very pleasant dreams, like, because I have a very nice life.
And the first thing that Vicki tells him is, I'm sorry, Marshall, but the only person who can answer that question is you. A part of your mind is trying to tell you something, but it's up to you to figure out what that is. But then she praises him, good work in today's lesson, but then I need to get ready for my next class. It's a hot natural yoga. He says, hot and natural? What does that mean? Means I turn up the thermostat to 90 degrees and we do intense yoga poses in the nude. It's very therapeutic, as she continues to limber up and stretch, which I'm very envious of her ability to do that stretch. I can't, like, my quads and my hamstrings would be like absolutely not firing on all cylinders, cramps galore.
Mhm.
Yeah, I was thinking that also. I was like, yeah, you're flexible, girl. Yeah, unsurprisingly. But it's nice because I was thinking about all my like yoga instructors. And I'm like, oh, she's like that. Her character, her persona is very realistic. And yeah, but I feel like she's part therapist here. Like that would have been a good alternative career, because like what she tells him about, that your mind is trying to tell you something and you have to figure out what it is. Like that's so spot on. And she's also not, part of the role of, I guess, anyone who's trying to help someone else is you help them, but ultimately they're the ones who have to take responsibility for their own emotional health. And, she's telling him, you have to figure it out. Like you do have some emotional work to do. No one else can do that for you. And Marshall really does seem to be absorbing that message. You can kind of like see him, okay, I'll take it in. And I wouldn't be surprised if in the next couple of episodes, he does try to figure it out in some way. I don't know how skilled he is at like emotional thinking. I don't know what he'll do. Maybe he'll call up Eva. Maybe he'll like talk to someone about it. But I hope he does address it in his way.
Yeah, I think I don't think we know a huge amount about Vicki's background. Like, yes, she's a yoga instructor, but like we have no idea what else she's done. Like, if she went to college, she might have a background in therapy in some way. She might, for all we know, she was a psych major. We don't know. And I'm hoping we kind of get a little bit more insight into her. I think she's a really cool character that's probably she's probably one of those people that just like did things and knows stuff, but decided she's much happier being just a yoga instructor instructor. So she's just going to do that.
I can totally see that.
I know I want a therapy session with Vikki.
Slide up here, 𝗪𝗫𝗍 will uncommission therapist, put your character in for a therapy session with Vikki.
So then she goes on to tell him it's an all women's class, but if you're interested, I'm sure we're all open-minded enough to let you join us. And you can see Marshall is very shocked at this and starts shaking a little bit. And that probably wouldn't be a good idea for my heart. Stupid romantic comic, as the buzzer is going off and beeping at him.
Yep, just the thought of it is enough to get him excited.
Then I'll
That's
pass
very
it back
funny.
over to you, Mindy.
What? Oh yeah. But as soon as she said, natural yoga, I was like, I knew it was going there. I knew it was there, and I knew it was just for the dirty joke. I was like, yeah. I feel like 𝗪𝗫𝗍 just put it there to entertain herself and us.
Well, again, we got those wonderful fourth wall breaks.
Mhm.
I love it.
Romantic comic.
Right. And I think also to show us how comfortable Vikki is with herself. She clearly takes a special kind of person comfortable with her own body to do anything in the nude with other people. So the fact that she is quite comfortable doing that, and even comfortable enough to invite a man to their class, means that she is very comfortable with her body and with herself. I think that tells us a lot about her as a character.
Remember, I think there's a rule in her and Angela's apartment that she's not allowed to walk
yes.
around naked if people are around. Like there are
Right.
set times when she knows she's going to be alone that she can do it, but if there's any chance that somebody's going to be home, she has to have at least some clothes on.
Yeah, and it's funny because I know for myself, I talked about this when we talked about Sam and Charles and their difference in their sexual experience. So I know when I first got married, I was, completely sexually inexperienced, and I was not comfortable with my body for years and years and years. And now I'm like so comfortable to the point where like, okay, I walk around my house with a towel, but like if my towel drops, my neighbor sees me, I'll be like, whatever, okay, so he saw me. Like I just became a lot more comfortable. I'm like, I'm a human being. I look like all the other women out there on planet Earth. I'm like, whatever. So I recognize I've achieved a lot more comfort with my own body than I used to have.
It's definitely an achievement unlocked kind of feeling, because yeah, it's like if they see me, if it's there, they're looking in my windows.
Right. Yep. Okay, so now we flash to the daily grind, and we have 𝗍 looking with a very kind of curious expression, and we have off-screen Link saying, 𝗍, I've solved the mystery behind the toilet paper thief. And Dallas has something he wants to say to you, and he is yanking Dallas. He has a really angry look on his face. Dallas is looking to the side, looking highly uncomfortable, and he yells, tell her. So I'm like, right off the bat. So I guess this whole sort of interaction would happen, but right off the bat, you see this is a very kind of paternalistic and yeah, I mean, I guess it's literally paternalistic behavior of Link. And this definitely ties in, well, I guess we'll talk about it as we go through the panels, but the relationship between the two of them is not ideal. And this episode just highlights exactly what the problem is there. And Dallas continues, he looks very angry, he can't look at her in the face, and he's like, I'm the one who took down toilet paper, okay? There, I said it. So clearly very reluctant, not forthcoming, not interested in admitting his guilt.
Wouldn't have done it if he wasn't being literally strong-armed by his brother.
Mm-hmm. Also, I just noticed he had purple eyes, and I literally Googled, I know I probably noticed this last season, but I literally Googled can people have purple eyes? So, then I didn't Google it enough to verify if it was how legit it was. But anyway, it was cool.
Doesn't Dolly Parton have purple? Oh no, it was Elizabeth Taylor. I think.
Yeah, so I found articles on her, but she had more blue eyes, but sometimes it looked violet. And I think maybe albinos are the only ones who actually can have real violet eyes because they don't have enough pigments to actually make. But it's not, besides for albinos, I think everything else is just blue. But sometimes it looks purple. Anywho, yeah, I've been looking up some stuff about eye colors lately, but So he's like, it was cheap stuff anyway. I was doing your customers a favor and taking it. Which is like, dude, not helping.
I don't know any restaurant or coffee shop that has like super high quality toilet paper. That's not what you're going there to do and use.
So I don't go out to restaurants much, but one of the restaurants my husband used to work for had like beautiful like design, beautiful everything, and they had nice quality toilet paper. And I noticed. That's why I remember. And his Link is like, shut up, Dallas. So again, like Link is being highly aggressive here as well. And we do have to point that out. And I completely understand Link, and I want to like, we'll go into it, but his behavior is pretty aggressive. And Dean kind of notices that. And she says, let him go, Link. You don't need to collar him like that. And he does drop her because Link is very emotionally connected to the situation. So Dallas is his little brother. Older brothers are not exactly known for treating the little brothers with respect. You know, they're like the people who see all their flaws and they're very close to them. And, you know, Dee, as an outsider, is able to see things about Dallas and their relationship that Link just is too close to pick up on, or too emotional to really to allow like hit him, to let him see that.
She's looking at it with that outsider perspective. She's seeing how Dallas is reacting to Link's aggression, whereas Link's just seeing he did the thing that was bad and was wrong.
Okay.
Right. And yeah, I mean, there's a bunch to discuss, which we'll go through with the episode because it goes throughout the whole episode. And Dee says, can I ask why you needed so much toilet paper? Were you playing a prank on someone? So she is trying to understand him. You know, she understands that there's a reason that he did this. He wasn't just doing it out of spite. And she's, you know, so this is obviously Dee is a sensitive person. Like another shop owner might have been chastising him and might have been yelling at him, or might have said, oh, pay me back right away or something like that. But she is already treating Dallas with sensitivity and understanding.
I think it helps that like she obviously knows them personally, like they're friends. She knows what they've gone through a little bit, probably to a certain extent. So she knows that this probably, there's more to it than just I needed toilet paper or, you know, whatever. Like what else is going on here that's underlying that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And yeah, I'm excited to see that about Dee. And at this point he goes, Link goes, and Dallas turns around and he clenches his jaw. So this is an uncomfortable topic for him. And I'm kind of curious why, which we can discuss after, because I don't see anything to be ashamed of in what he used it for. But anyway, Krystine, that's your turn.
So we finally get the mystery of what happened to all that toilet paper solved. Because I know some people in the comments were thinking some nasty thoughts. Y'all nasty.
That's a lot of, I know, when I read that, I was like, yo, that's way too much toilet paper. Not possible.
And I like how some people were like, oh, they knew about COVID.
Right, that was also making a fortune on the black market.
Yeah. So we finally see what Dallas did with all that toilet paper. And Link says, this is what you've done with all of that toilet paper? And yeah, it's a cosplay of the tainted warrior from Manslayer. I decoupaged the toilet paper to make a mutated look and painted the hell out of it. And it looks really good.
That looks awesome for being toilet paper, right?
Yeah.
Like, cosplay's no joke.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So he is like clearly super talented and dedicated. You know, it's like we've only seen, honestly, the negative parts of Dallas until now. We've seen him be nasty. We've seen him be like superficial. What's the word? Like, you know, like kind of like a womanizer and like see only the outside of women. We've only, you know, be like annoying. We've only seen the negative part of him, but seeing this shows us that he does have an interest in life. And it just reminds us that this guy's a teenager, you know, and he's gonna be maybe not so appealing in his personality at this stage in his life. You know, this is the stage where like you're very, very annoying. And I love that Mangi is showing us this, because you know, teenagers need sympathy too. I know I was the most, I don't know, the most, but I definitely drove my parents crazy, and we probably all did. And, you know, my daughter is now 10, and there's parts of her that resemble teenagehood. And I'm like, and I just have to remember, like, calm down. Like, this is a stage, and she needs sympathy and she needs understanding, rather than you being annoyed at her all the time for like being whiny and being spoiled, you know? And like, this whole episode really, to me, was pretty personal, because the way that Link treats Dallas kind of reminded me of how I treat my daughter, you know, like getting annoyed at the bad parts rather than remembering this is an age and a stage, and you need to be helping her through it rather than getting annoyed.
And I know we also know that like Sam and Angela and Vikki are all doing their Manslayer cosplays for a couple of characters. I'm wondering if he's been working on this on his own so that he can, because we saw that thing in the gym that we were talking about a couple of weeks ago, where Dallas was watching Angela and Link play basketball and had that little green-eyed monster flicker. And I'm wondering if he's been working on this so that they can see him as more than just a teenager. If he can play in the same ball game that they're in, if he looks like he belongs with them, then they won't view him as just another kid. They won't view him as just as Link's little brother.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and then so we see like Link is just like shocked, and he's like, I had no idea you're into this sort of thing. Must have taken ages. And that just shows me that like Link has no clue about his brother. Like, he doesn't understand his brother at all. And it's like, I get it, like he's working like all the time, but it's like, you don't know your brother? Like, really?
Yeah. And I'm sure Dallas isn't exactly going around talking to him, but he's also probably not talking to him because Link has developed a pretty toxic relationship with him, you know, where he's just criticizing him all the time and just like badgering him, you know, you're doing this wrong, you're doing that wrong, you're doing this wrong. So I'm sure Dallas doesn't feel like opening up to him either.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Two-way street.
Exactly.
Whew. It's kind of a little hard to see, but it's so realistic.
Yeah. Yeah. And
but he does, at least he does say like it must have taken ages. That's the one positive thing, right? Like that is kind of a compliment.
Yeah, it's like, okay, that looks good enough that must have taken a long time. Good job.
Impressed, but Link is like still doesn't explain why you stole in the first place. And Dallas is just like, you know, grinding his teeth, arms crossed, just like, I need the toilet paper for the effect. And there was a ton of it at the coffee shop. I didn't think anyone would notice.
And his whole body language is just like so defensive and upset. Like you said, grinding teeth, crossing arms, leaning against the post, not looking at Dallas. This kid is so upset. And he has a lot of anger in him.
He's bracing for that impact of whatever Link is going to throw at him.
Mm-hmm. And then Link is like, not notice? That's what you're concerned about? You were stealing. I can't believe I have to tell you that this is wrong. And it's just like the shadow just glazes over Dallas and it's like, this could get me fired, Dallas. This is the last straw. You're grounded.
Oh.
Yeah. I totally get Link, but ouch. Yeah. I mean, I like the fact that the moral issue bothers him. I mean, that should be the premier thing on your mind, you know, like stealing is bad, right? So I'm happy that Link has his moral outlook straight. But yeah, the you're grounded part, ouch.
The body language he's got with the you were stealing, the point and the gesture, like, oh, it's like, oh no, this is not the way to do it. This is not the way to do it.
Yeah, I know I've been on that side because my dad was in the Navy and he was always like gone like majority of the time, and my mom was always working, so I was basically left in charge. And I know I've been on that side where I had to be like, you know, the disciplinarian, and you'll learn from it.
It's funny because I have a younger brother. I'm 32 and my brother is 10. My daughter is 10. So he's like 10 months older than my daughter. And he comes over to play a lot. And my kids go over to his house a lot. We live in the same neighborhood. And I find myself very, very often in this position of like telling him off because like he'll bully my daughter, or like mainly that, bully my daughter. Like, and like I have to say like, don't do that. And like, you know, I won't give you like toys, or like I won't let you come back. I don't usually say that, but like, and it's like it's a very awkward position to be in because I'm like, I could be his parent. And like in many ways I have to act like his parent when he comes over and when I interact with him, but I'm also his older sister, so it's not so appropriate for me to do that. And it's just, it's a very, he resents it. And I don't know, and it's something that like I have to figure out what to do, because like I want him to stop bullying my daughter, you know, and like, but like, is it appropriate for me to tell him what to do? You know, it's difficult.
It's definitely a weird dynamic. My youngest sister-in-law is 14. So like the age range between, you know, my husband and I were both 32 and she's 14. It's like that dynamic, you know, she's a pretty chill 14-year-old, thank goodness. But like, yeah, that weird dynamic of like going out, and it's like, yeah, it's like I'm old enough that you could be my daughter, but
Yeah, so I related to Link a lot, you know, I really, really did. And also because I tend to be much more of a strict kind of person. Like my husband does not have this issue with my brother. Because he doesn't discipline, period. Like he doesn't discipline my kids, he doesn't discipline him. I'm the strict one in the family. So like I just completely related to Link over here. I'm probably too aggressive in my disciplinary style also. It's something I've been thinking a lot about these past couple of months. And so this episode really was like very personal.
Same. Yeah, so after Link says you're grounded, you just see Dallas like lift up his head, clench his jaw, and like I totally like understand where he's coming from. Like as an angry teenager, someone telling you like that's not your parent, like you're grounded, like I'm sorry, what? And like Dallas has the exact answer, like who the F do you think you are to think you can talk to me like my father? Like angry teenager, all the hurt is in that sentence.
So sad.
No.
Like he's angry, but it was so sad.
The rage, like that moment when he lifts, you can see that switch flip in that shadowed when he's up against the wall. Like I don't think so. And I feel like I actually was more on Dallas's side on this one. Like absolutely not, that Link crossed a line on this that is going to be a hard line to come back from for a while for them, I think.
And I was like, I adored Link from the beginning. Like I originally shipped Link and Sam together. Obviously that's dead. But like that line, I'm like, oh, I'm on Dallas's side. And I was not like the biggest fan of Dallas, but now I'm like, sorry, Link, like, I can't back you up anymore.
But
that
to
ship
me,
has sailed.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we can clearly see that Link did something he shouldn't have and still completely sympathize for him, because how old is Link already? He's also in his early 20s. He lost his dad when he was young, and he's trying to fill a role, and he's trying to kind of, their mom seems to be working. We haven't seen the mom be very present. So she seems like an okay person, but if she's not there, Link is trying to step in. And, you know, I mean, one of the big things I've learned as an adult is like people can make mistakes and you can still like them and they can still be good people, especially in the context of yourself and making mistakes. You know, you learn to forgive yourself and you have to learn to forgive others. So, you know, Link himself is going to have to go through a challenging time of figuring out how to deal with his little brother and what's the appropriate way to deal with him. And I'm very sure this will be one that will, like, his growth care, you know, in this comic will be to change that relationship. And I'm sure it'll be very difficult for him, but that's going to be his challenge.
You can see in his face in that last panel before we flip back to the coffee shop that he recognizes that this did not go the way he thought it would. That's a look of, oh, I fucked up.
Yeah, I messed up, but also like, why are you yelling at me too? Like, it's a whole combination of like, ugh.
I think mentioning his father also hurts him. You know, it kind of brings up the unresolved pain of losing his father. And, you know, I don't know if he recognized that he was taking over the father role. I don't think he realized. So until Dallas mentioned him, and he's like, oh shit, like that's what I'm doing. So I think that's going to prompt like him thinking about it.
Hopefully.
So we go back to the present, and Link is like, it's complicated, Dee, but I'll pay for the toilet paper he's stolen. And Dee's like, you don't have to do that, Link. Bless her.
She's such a good human. I love her so much.
Mm-hmm. And I think she realizes that she needs to like mediate this tension.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And Link says, well, Dallas doesn't have any money, and it's the least I can do for the ow.
Just blow to his ego.
And you can see he's still clenching his jaw real hard. He's like, yeah, the bus looks great from under here. Thanks.
This poor kid.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
And we see Dee like thinking, and actually, I think I have a better idea.
I was like so relieved, right? He's like looking up with like hope in his eyes.
Yeah, he's like, really?
And the two of them like side by side like that with this look of, you do? Like they never looked more like brothers in that than in that moment of like this look of confusion. Really?
Yep. And Dee says, despite the creator not drawing a lot of customers in the background, we do get a fair amount of business, and having another set of hands to sweep and clean tables would be great.
I didn't realize that was Mongi poking fun at herself until literally just now. I thought that she was making a comment about the mural being that Marshall didn't do something because he did the mural, and I'm like, oh my god, no, that's Mongi poking fun at herself.
No.
It's another fourth wall. Oh my god,
another fourth wall break. Yep.
That's very cute. I love them.
Which is funny because like when we look at the beginning, when we see like the front of the daily grind, you see like two people.
They're coffee cups.
Okay. And then so Dee is like, so how about Dallas comes here for a few hours a week to help with the work? He can pay it off that way. How's that sound? And Dallas is like, work?
Oh my gosh. I thought this was hilarious because I did work a lot as a teenager. Like since I was 12, I was babysitting like a couple nights a week, and I was working all in the summers as a counselor. So I'm like, Dallas, you're spoiled. Like, you never heard of working for money is one of the biggest things. Like big things in my life, which I mentioned before. I think my daughter's spoiled. And I'm like, the concept of money just does not register. And it's like so aggravating to me because I'm like, you know, obsessed with like making money because it's
being an adult.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh, Dallas, you haven't worked yet.
Yeah.
I was just thinking, I was like, is he have we figured out how old he is exactly? Is he what, like 16-ish, give or take? Are we guesstimating?
Like 16, yeah.
But I want to like 16.
I mean, I got my first job in high school, like working at the daycare center next door to my high school. Like, yeah, I wanted to be able to pay for gas money to go out with my friends, or just be able to go to the movies and not be like, hey mom, I need $20. Like, I wanted my own money to do what I wanted with. So like, yeah, the idea of like a 16-year-old being like, I have to work, like that doesn't register with me.
Yeah, like I think back to like days when like I didn't have a job, like as like maybe like a 12-year-old, and I'm like, what did I do with my life? Like, how did I survive?
Yeah, just ask our parents for money. But it also, I think, shows Dallas has been leading a privileged life, at least financially. So I don't know if we've gotten much indication of the Link's family financial status, but if he hasn't had to work until now, then they've probably been doing okay.
Okay.
But
yeah.
didn't Link step in? If I remember from season 1, there was the whole issue with their mom working more and Link stepping in. I do remember some of that, if I recall correctly.
I'm wondering if they were kind of letting him off the hook a little bit, given everything that he went through at such a young age. But I mean, like, Link's working as an ENT and at the coffee shop. I think his mom's working at least one, if not maybe 2 jobs. Like, I think that because they had that loss of income after his father passed away, they've had to pull some extra strings together to make ends meet. But there's a lot of taboo about talking about money, so I think they probably left Dallas out of those conversations rather than put so much pressure on him as a kid in high school to have to think that he's going to earn money.
Isn't he dropped out?
I don't remember.
I don't remember that.
I don't remember.
I don't think so.
No? Oh, never mind.
It's funny, just never covered the fact that he's in whether or not he's actually in school.
Yeah.
Yeah. I did reread Let's Play right before season 3. I don't recall that. So but yeah, this episode was great. I thought it was wonderful that it focused, because a lot of like webtoons focus on romance and all the issues that come with that, and this is much more broad in a scope. It talks more about friendship and personal development, and family relationships I don't find are that common at all in webtoons, and I think it's wonderful that it's discussed, because family is obviously a huge part of our lives. So I'm so grateful that this like fresh idea is being discussed. And as someone, like, I relate to a lot of this because I'm probably too stern and blah blah blah, so like it was very nice for me to be able to see that being portrayed in a webtoon.
I like the variety of family dynamics. You've got, Sam's family is super tight knit. They're in each other's lives. They know kind of everything about each other. Whereas you see the estrangement between Eva and Marshall. They don't talk a lot. They don't see each other a lot. There's obviously a lot of stuff behind the scenes with their parents that they've gone through. The Dallas and Link and that whole dynamic as they're going through it. We have, other than we know that Charles is divorced, we know nothing about his family background. That I think what his parents were teachers, but we don't know the dynamic he has with his family. So it's really interesting to see the really versatile dynamics of everybody's interpersonal relationships with themselves, with their families, with each other. I like the variety. It's yeah, like you said, maybe it's really refreshing.
Like, as much as I love like all the romance in this comic, like the broad spectrum of like everything, emotional trauma, like physical health, mental health, like family dynamics, like everything, like bless 𝗏𝗀𝗡 for like making such a wonderful comic.
I can't imagine what her planning boards must look like to keep track of everything.
It's like that one meme where it's like
yes.
Yeah, so many characters, and like each character has their own distinct personality and their own struggle, their own story. That's definitely like one of the strengths of this story.
I love it.
Anyway, guys, do you want to move on to the bonus question about Vikki and Marshall?
Sure.
All right.